Are there any type of certifications that doctors or facilities should have to ensure that they follow the best protocol or have the best training for ketamine, for CRPS particularly?
This question is very interesting, and it probably will open a can of worms at some point in the debates. The basic answer to that is not really, because remember that this is all what's known as off-label administration of the drug ketamine.
Okay.
The drug ketamine from the manufacturers is not manufactured for use in treating RSD.
Okay.
That's a sort of serendipitous finding of ketamine. Ketamine is used as an anesthetic, it's used as an analgesic, but it is not supposed to be used for this. So off-label is what allows practitioners who can legally use certain drugs to use them in ways that the manufacturer does not recommend.
Okay.
This, of course, absolves the manufacturer of liability because, hey, you weren't supposed to do that.
Right.
And it puts it in the hands of the practitioner. Many years ago, ketamine, all drugs come with what's called a package insert. It's a real long information pamphlet about the drug, the company that makes it, what its uses are, what its dosage should be, what its overdose is, what to do when something goes wrong. The package inserts for ketamine used to say ketamine must be limited to use by physicians trained in airway management. So that pretty much means anesthesiologists and ER docs.
Okay.
That warning no longer appears on the ketamine package inserts. And part of that reason might be because ketamine went off patent decades ago. You could get a bottle of ketamine for like $1, very cheap.
Okay.
Now the pharmaceutical companies, and by the way, a lot of what I say here is just me saying it. And so if it sounds cynical, that's just me. There also is a ring of truth to it. When the pharmaceutical companies saw that people were starting to give ketamine in, lots and lots of ketamine getting used for pain management and depression, well, their idea was, we want to let even more people do that. So they took that restriction off the package insert because they know it's all being done off-label anyway.
Mm-hmm.
My personal opinion is that nobody should be administering ketamine that is not familiar with ketamine. And by familiar with ketamine, I mean the training that they got in residency or in practice. They're familiar with using it in its normal methods of use.
Mm-hmm.
If you can safely anesthetize a patient and get him through a surgical procedure with ketamine, you can safely treat him for RSD or for depression. Or as ER docs go, if you can safely give a high dose of ketamine, a big slug of it IV to intubate somebody whose heart can't tolerate standard sedative drugs, if you can get that done pretty safely, then you're familiar enough with ketamine and with its side effects and its negative effects that you can probably handle giving an infusion.
Okay.
Is there a certification for it? No,
No.
not for
Okay.
ketamine infusion. If it's an anesthesiologist giving it, of course, it's better if he's board certified. If it's an ER doc, better if he's board certified. If it's now, and by the way, for depression, I have a whole different take on it because depression is such a low dose. The chance of having an untoward effect is near as makes no difference, 0.
Okay.
So I don't feel the same way on depression infusions. But for pain infusions, or at least high dose pain infusions, and I'm not the only person in the country that gives high dose pain infusions.
Okay.
There are lots of good guys out there. I don't know them all personally, but I know that they're out there. For a high dose, I think you want to have a center that has the standard equipment that like a surgical center, for instance, would have: a crash cart, the ability to transport a patient quickly by ambulance to a nearby hospital, so a reciprocal agreement with the hospital. Nursing staff that are at least recovery room trained, at best ICU trained, and preferably that have experience with ketamine, because ketamine is used still very frequently in intensive care units or for certain kind of surgical procedures, and so the recovery room nurses would be familiar with it. Because the more experience somebody has, again, with the drug in its normal uses, the better equipped they'll be to handle an off-label use.
Okay.